Welcome to the AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest is Owen Moon. He's a director at Trade Pending and the co-founder of Fixed Ops Digital. Welcome, Owen.
Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Where'd you come in from today?
Flew in from South Dakota and going to make a little trip around the country here this week. So I figured I'd stop in and say hi to you.
Yeah, thanks for making the stop in Akron. It's beautiful weather out today.
Yeah, I actually brought some decent weather, right?
Yeah, you did. Well, let's get started with a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and the career path that has led you to where you are today?
Yeah, it's been an interesting run for me. This is my 24th year working in the automotive industry. Came out of college, I actually thought I was going to be a stockbroker or maybe a financial planner. That's really what I was going to school for, was finance. But I always had a little bit of a marketing, side to me as well. And so I was taking some marketing courses and got a minor in marketing when I was at the university. But when I came out, I looked at some of the opportunities in finance and in the financial sector, and I just didn't really drive with me. It was too boring, and I just kind of was like, hey, I need to use my creative side more. So I ended up actually landing a position at an ad agency that was 100% automotive. And I didn't know anything about automotive. I'd never had a new car in my life. It was all foreign to me. And so spent a couple years really learning the business from the inside out. I was traveling around the country helping set up subprime departments. We had a full solution helping the dealerships with advertising, like what banks to connect with, what inventory. It was all kind of new back then. It was back in the 2000, 2001 time frame. And so that really gave me an inside look at the dealership as a whole, because I never actually was in retail, that type of thing. But a lot of that experience really carried me through the rest of my career. And so did that for a while, ended up starting my own company in 2005, and was kind of doing a lot of the same type of stuff, marketing for dealerships and that type of thing. And then the recession hit, right? And so I think everybody was scrambling. Everybody was trying to figure out kind of what to do. And I did actually work for a little bit with a Gannett Property, which was the newspaper in my local city. And because they were a Gannett Property, we also were the Cars.com affiliate. So that was sort of my first taste into digital. That was like 2009, something like that. And so I've just sort of been kind of out there working with stores, really trying to focus on helping dealerships, kind of helping them with some of the vendors and things like that. And that was sort of my progression into this industry. And of course, 2014 really started getting back into more of the national side of things. Really realized that there was a lot of opportunity out there with dealerships, and they were needing some help. And so I went to my first digital dealer in 2014, and I guess you could say the rest was kind of history. So I've just been kind of going there and contributing to this great industry ever since. So,
nice. Yeah. A lot of times when people think about marketing at dealerships, we all think about new cars, used cars. What inspired you to get involved with the back end of the business, the service and fixed ops marketing?
It was honestly by accident.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting. A couple things. Being a smaller guy in the industry, right? Not having a lot of big companies that I didn't work for any big companies like a Cox or Reynolds and Reynolds or anything like that. And I was always trying to find some of those niche products, right? So one of the things I was doing prior to starting getting into service marketing was geofencing, right? Nobody really was doing geofencing. There wasn't a lot of companies out there that were embracing it, and so I sort of led that charge for a couple years. I was speaking at all the conferences and just really talking about kind of how dealerships could use geofencing to help them, which was kind of a newer concept at that time. So when I got introduced to kind of this idea of helping evolve online service marketing, it was also kind of with that in mind, right? Like no one else is doing this, it's something kind of new. Really for a guy like myself at the time, it set myself apart. I wasn't just kind of lumped in with the masses. And so that was kind of why we kind of pivoted towards the service side. Just realizing there was a huge need there. A lot of the strategies and tactics and things that dealerships were we're utilizing, that we're out there for service marketing. We're sort of some of the, direct mail and email marketing that, strategies that have been going on for years, right? And so there, as we started to look at this from a website scenario and even an online scenario with Google and some of the search engines, just realized that there's nothing out there right now. And so again, kind of using my logic of what I've done my whole career was, let's try to trying to change how people look at that side of the business. And had a lot of things go our way, obviously, in the 5 years that we've been in business. And but overall, I feel like we've done a really good job of educating the industry and really executing on this type of a strategy.
Interesting. Yeah, well, you brought up website. I mean, you go to a dealership's website, it's all about the new cars, the used cars, the get pre-approved, and then there's also service. Every dealer, of course, wants to set up their website for service success, but what does that look like? I mean, what should they be focusing on to be successful?
Well, I think that the biggest thing that I've seen that's different from the sales to the service side, and then that's what we've tried to really put a spotlight on and change over the last 5 years, is getting that information out to the consumers. You go to your point, you go to a new car side of the website, you check out a used car. There's all of this great information, right? You've got features and what color the vehicle is, how many miles. If people are writing good descriptions, they're really telling a story about that vehicle. And then you go over to the service side of the website, and there's a page that the website provider threw up that's really cookie cutter and just kind of plain and bland, and more to make it like almost a placeholder for the dealership to go in and evolve it, right? I think what happened, though, is that dealerships forgot to evolve it, right? They just forgot to actually make it their own. And so I think that's part of it, is making sure that you're building out those service center pages and oil change pages and things like that that is telling the consumer, a little more information about that. But also then looking at your service specials page. We were looking at specials pages back in 2018 when we first started, and you had maybe one coupon up there that sometimes was expired, right? Or you had check back later for service specials, like there was nothing available. So we looked at that as a piece of real estate that was very, very underutilized. And so the idea we came up with was like, let's make it more of a menu style page. You go into a Jiffy Lube and you look up on the wall and there's all of their services. It's all transparent. It's all the pricing and that type of thing. We didn't have that in the dealership's website side. So we really kind of coined the phrase service menu page, and to the point where even like now it's widely used in the industry. Our dealerships say, hey, I need to make a change to my menu page, because they've, even though we call it a specials page to the consumer, because there is going to still be there that 10% off service or maybe a spend and save offer or something like that, where you're going to give some discounts. But overall, we just want the consumer to be able to come to the websites and find the information they're looking for. Because there's a little bit of a difference between a service customer that's online and a sales customer that's online, right? The service customer, it's more of an immediate, I've got a problem, I need some help with that now. So they're going to be looking for that information. And if they go to the dealership's website and none of that information is there for them, they're going to keep looking, right? A little different than the sales side. Sales side, you've got shoppers at all kinds of different levels, right? I'm ready to buy tomorrow, all the way to I'm just starting my research because my lease is up in 6 months. It's a little different. I always kind of jokingly say I didn't get up today and go, hey, who should fix my brakes when they go out in 6 months? Right. I mean, it's more reactionary. So you just have to make sure that you've got your website set up for success for that customer, that when they need you at that time, and that's I think that's what we're delivering for customers.
Nice. Actually, I was joking with my wife recently that nobody buys a transmission because it's a good deal on a transmission. They only buy a transmission because they need a transmission. You ain't getting very far without a transmission, right? Well, I kind of want to shift gears a little bit to customer retention. I mean, every OEM and every dealership wants to retain their customers. And one of the keys to that is being able to convert them from warranty to customer pay. I mean, everybody goes to the dealership to get their warranty work done because they're not paying for it. But dealerships really struggle to convert those customers from warranty to customer pay. how can they do a better job at that?
Well, I as a marketing guy, I can say, hey, it kind of goes back to, making sure you get that information onto the websites and things like that. But I think it's much more than that. I think there has to be the thought process throughout that couple years. Like Toyota has prepaid maintenance. I think Honda just came out with it on some of their newer models. Obviously you've got a lot of like standard 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty, scenarios, that type of thing. I think what happens a lot of times is, let's be honest, no fault to the dealership, we're busy, right? They're busy in the service lane. They're shorthanded. They're always up, under the gun of trying to get vehicles fixed and out and serviced and out and out back to the customer. And so I don't know if we do a great enough job as an industry to create those long-term relationships during that warranty time, and kind of set them up for the idea like, hey, this is a service that you can get done now during warranty. So before your warranty's up, let's get it handled. And then know that, like, hey, if that happens again, or if that's something you need down the road, we'll be able to help you with it. So I feel like a lot of that can be done sort of pre customer pay, where you're in that warranty stage. Just being, good experience for the customer. Make sure that you deliver that good experience. Make sure that customer feels great about that experience, because I don't know about you, but I've never gone back to a restaurant where I didn't have a good experience, and I always go back. Consumers are kind of creatures of habit, right?
Yep.
If I know I like something, you come into my town, I might say, hey, let's go to these 2 or 3 places, because I know that every time I've brought a friend or a client or somebody in my family out to dinner, we've had a great experience. So you deliver that kind of experience, the consumer will never need to leave you, right? The only reason why a consumer leaves in a customer pay scenario is they don't have the information to make sure that they make the right decision to stay at the dealership. Because overall, I think dealerships are the best option, obviously, because they have the right equipment, they have the right personnel with the technicians that are experienced on those brands. They have the right certifications that those technicians have, and that's what we have to continue to sell on the customer from the moment they buy that vehicle or have that first service experience, all the way to that point when now they're getting into a customer pay scenario.
Now, I've heard you talk about moving from a discount strategy in service to an educational strategy in service, and how you can really become like a trusted advisor to your customers. That sounds wonderful, but how do you execute? Like, how do you make that happen in a dealership?
Well, I think that, we've gotten so used to, on our websites, especially because it's called a service specials page, right? Just by nature, it's a lot of the agencies I see out there, that we kind of like partner with a dealership. They're sending us over, like, here's the 5 or 6 specials that we want to, throw up on the website this month or have on the website this month. I think that's fundamentally where, like, we have sort of changed how a lot of dealerships look at this, right? Consumers aren't necessarily looking for the cheapest price. Now, with lack of any other information, consumers are always going to go to price, right? If all I had to compare it, it's price versus price. And a lot of times we won't win that, because we are going to be a little more expensive than the quick lanes and things like that out there. That's where I start talking about, like, some of the content and some of the information, and making sure that we have good pricing strategies out there. We don't have to be the cheapest, but we can't be twice as expensive either, right? We've got to be competitive. But if we can sell the customer on the fact that, like, we have the right equipment, we have the experience, we have the technicians, you're going to get a great experience with us, or we're going to have a loaner car if you need it. We're going to be able to fix that recall that the OEM came out with. There's a lot of that ties into the psychology of a customer that I know for me anyways, and I always put my consumer hat on a lot of times as well. I don't necessarily want discount Dave over there fixing my vehicle. I want to make sure that when I leave and I'm going to go on a trip, or I'm going to leave that dealership, that I feel very confident that my vehicle's been fixed, and that it's going to be safe for my family. It's going to be safe for the road. It's going to be safe for any travels, different things like that. And so that's the message that has to get out there. Several ways to do it, obviously, but a really good way is obviously to educate on your website all of those key factors.
You know, you and I were talking about it in our garage studio earlier, the multi-point inspection. Discount Dave may not be doing that. I mean, everybody's busy these days. I mean, if you go to the dealership, you know that they're going to look to see if something else is wrong too.
Yeah.
You know, nobody wants to have to go back to the dealership a week later, or Discount Dave's a week later.
Yeah. Well, and the problem with that is that since we haven't really, as an industry, done a great job of creating that relationship in some instances, that's where they always say that, like, hey, people think that, like, the service departments are just trying to one-up us, right? Or just trying to add services to increase, their repair orders. And no, I mean, honestly, if the machines out there and the technology that's out there are telling us that, hey, you have these 3 or 4 things are in the yellow is, you have the green, you have the red, and you have the yellow, right? The green is everything's good. The red potentially is those definitely need to be handled today. And then you've got this sort of gray area, right, where it's like we have certain things that can be done, we have certain things that could be done the next time. I actually had a really, really good experience one time with my Toyota dealership where the guy sat me down and he looked at the yellows and he was like, honestly, he's like, I would get these 2 things done because we've had a lot of vehicles in that have had those problems, and you don't want those to continue to fester, so to speak. But then these other 3, I think we could push to the next service. Like, that was consultative to me, right? That was like, okay, this guy's not just trying to shove an extra, 5 or 6 services, into my world and today, because he knew that I probably wasn't going to do them all anyways. But he was very consultative, where he was like, hey, this is the 2 or 3 that I think you should do today, only because they're more important. If something does go wrong with them, it's going to cost you more in the long run. So just to be able to sit down and have that conversation, I think, is key. But that's ultimately why I think you've got to educate on your website. You've got to give information. You got to provide recommendations, and that's kind of been our mission since we started our company. So.
That's a perfect example of a perspective that Discount Dave wouldn't have.
No.
I mean, if you're working on Toyota 4Runners all day, every day, and 60 of them roll through your service lane every day, you have a good idea of what needs to be done and doesn't need to be done. But if you work on a Toyota 4Runner once a month or every other week, you don't have that perspective. You don't know.
No, and that's too bad that we have such defection coming out of our service lanes after warranty. But that's something that I think is an opportunity for dealerships. I think the ones that embrace it, are really seeing the impact to their bottom line.
Well, I'd like to shift gears a little bit and talk about AI. I mean, I don't think I've done an interview in the last year where we didn't talk about AI a little bit, because it's impacting everything around us. How's it impacting your business, and what is it doing for your customers?
AI is interesting because I think a lot of dealerships, are very slow to change, right? And just by nature, we've been a slow to change industry. AI is definitely something that I feel is evolving inside the dealerships. Part of what I see with AI is that it shouldn't replace anybody or replace a lot of the individuals or the employees in your dealership. But what it should do is it should complement those holes in the boat, so to speak, right? If you're not able to do something very effectively or successfully, maybe that's an opportunity where AI can get involved. I still think, though, I got a friend, Matt Raymond, who uses the word AI, actual individuals. I think actual individuals are actually a better AI in our world. But there's going to be a place for AI, throughout as it continues to evolve, and I think that dealerships just have to do a good job of educating themselves and figuring out where it fits into their in their daily world. So.
Well, I'd like to shift gears again.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys were recently acquired by Trade Pending.
Yes, sir.
What makes your 2 companies a good fit? Like why were they attracted to you, and why were you attracted to them?
Yeah, it was interesting. I've had a lot of people talk to me over the last 2 or 3 years about what was our long-term strategy and our goals. And I had everything from why don't we just merge companies to why don't we invest in your company and that type of thing. And I always was kind of looking for the perfect fit, right? And the perfect fit's hard to sometimes happen because there's always outside situations that maybe out of our control and that type of thing. So I started talking with Joe Dallas, in 2021, and we did basically meetings at every conference, right? We would just get together for a half hour. I'd kind of update them on where we're at. They were kind of seeing our growth. And I knew in 2021 that we needed to pivot anyways as a company away from more of that services and agency style business to more technology. So we started building out our special software platform in 21. We actually launched it. We incorporated all of our current customers throughout the year, and then really launched it for mainstream retail in October at the Digital Dealer Conference. As we were rolling into 2022, I think we had just passed like 600 or 700 clients. It was starting to evolve. I was starting to see kind of what the software could really become. And I think that's when talks with us really got serious, because Trade Pending by nature is a software company, right? They have several products that are sort of plugged into the website to help consumers and dealerships connect, right, with their trade product, their payments product, things like that. So I think when they saw that our specials management software was as robust as it was and was as put together like it was, and with our client base and just our reputation in the market, I think that was an easy fit for us to say, hey, this is a good fit, because they wanted to get into the service side. All their products were variable driven. There's ways that you can do it, right? Can you build the product from scratch, or can you acquire good companies that you can take on? And Trade Pending strategy has been to acquire companies. They bought Auto APR in, I believe it was 2022, and then 60 days before acquiring us, they acquired SnapCell. So then SnapCell has a great video platform that's both for service, and now they have sales, and then they have a service side as well. So now the nice thing about that for us is that we are sort of working as a team now with our development team and all that to say, hey, how can some of this stuff maybe talk to each other and kind of integrate together to really not only make it really easy for consumers, but also make it more effective together for dealerships. And so yeah, I couldn't be happier. I know my business partners that started Fixed Op Digital with me as well. We're all still with the company. We're all still really helping kind of integrate our company in with Trade Pending. But really, what sets this one different than maybe other ones out there is that Trade Pending didn't have a service solution or a service side of the business. So by acquiring us and kind of keeping us all together, we were able to just kind of roll right in and just keep going. And so yeah, I'm excited for 2024. We got a lot of big things planned, and I'm sure you guys will hear more about it as the year progresses. So.
And a lot of times when you acquire a business, I mean, at Babcox Media, AutoSuccess was acquired a while back, and we're always buying new companies. One of the benefits of acquiring a great company is you get the great people.
Yeah.
Like, those great people weren't on the market to hire.
No.
I mean, they weren't going to leave where they were.
Yeah.
But when you acquire the company, you get the people. And so now Trade Pending, they got you.
Yeah, and they got some of the SnapCell people as well. And I think they've grown to very, I think they've doubled in size as far as employees,
Wow.
in the last couple of years, just because of all the growth and that type of thing. And so I'm excited. I always wanted to be a part of a sales organization, right? I mean, we kind of grew Fixed Ops Digital. We obviously grew it through sales. That's how you acquire customers. We had some sales reps at times that helped with some of that. But a lot of it was very organic, right? It was, we were kind of first to market. We had a really, really good idea that dealerships embraced. We had some really things go our way too. COVID, let's be honest, when COVID hit, a lot of the service departments became essential, and they were the ones that stayed open. While the sales side of the business, they had to do more of a skeleton crew and things like that. Then you fast forward in 21, 22, where you've got the inventory shortage. Again, more spotlight on service. So, we grew our company because of some of those factors that really helped us. What I'm excited about Trade Pending is that they are a true sales organization. They've got a huge sales division that ultimately does a great job of just working with dealerships and getting our products in front of them. And so, to be able to kind of push us right into that environment, I think is going to be big because that was only the mission always anyways, right? Was to try to get our program into as many stores as possible because we have a lot of big groups and we have a lot of great customers that have been with us since the beginning. They love what we do. Biggest problem I had was we grew so fast there wasn't sometimes time for me to be able to make sales and calls and talk to people and things like that. So I had to do it through 20 groups and through speaking at conferences and doing interviews like this. I mean, this is how we got our name out there and became that authority in the space. But now it's great to be able to kind of turn that to a sales division and say, all right, let's go.
Yeah,
So,
nice.
yeah.
Well, Owen, is there anything more you'd like to share with our audience today?
I would just say that, as you move into this year and as in future years, really focus on, what are you doing to connect with those service customers? I still go to dealerships every day to their websites and see check back later, right? What are you saying to the customer? Are you saying, hey, we don't want that business? Or are you saying, hey, we're the company that wants to educate you about our service department, why you need the services for your vehicle, that type of thing. And so, definitely make sure that, you've picked the right partner for that. I mean, obviously, just like anything in your business, you want to make sure you've got a good partner. But ultimately, there is a lot of different ways to go about it with your website and that type of thing. And a lot of it is all, kind of dependent on what like Google wants and kind of the way they want it structured and that type of thing. And so, I see other, companies out there that are doing different specials management and different service marketing on the website that, are using like iframed and, that type of scenario. And obviously that's not what, Google recommends and not the way that, that we like to go about it. So at the end of the day, just, make sure you educate yourself and make a good decision and really focus on the service side of your business. I think it's going to become more and more of a factor in the coming years. We kind of kicked the door down in 2018 and really put a spotlight on it. But it's definitely something that dealerships can control. And there's going to be a heck of a lot of opportunity as we move into, into these next couple years. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming, Owen.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for taking the time to join us for this AutoSuccess Executive Spotlight. I'm your host, Brian Ankney. Today, my guest has been Owen Moon. We hope to see you again on a future episode. This one's Over the Curb and Burning Gas.